Appalachian Genealogy presents Estray books, Finding Ancestors.
So, have you ever hit that wall in your family history research? You know the one, where an ancestor just vanishes between records. It's one of the most frustrating things. Well, today, we're going to talk about a surprising way to break down that wall, using a source you've probably never even thought to look at. We have all been there. I know I have. You're tracing a family line, everything is going great, and then, poof, nothing. An ancestor who was right there in one record is just gone. It's that classic genealogical brick wall, right? And it can stop your research cold for years. You've done everything right. You've checked all the usual suspects, census records, deeds, wills, tax lists. But this one, ancestor, it's like they left no trace at all. They show up in, say, the 1830 census, and then by 1840, they're a complete ghost. So what do you do when all the standard records have failed you? Well, what if I told you that the key to finding your missing ancestor might be tucked away in some dusty old record book that's describing a neighbor's lost cow? I know, it sounds a little strange, but that's exactly where we're going. The clue isn't in some big life event, but in the really mundane, everyday business of rural life. Okay, so let's define our terms here. The word is estray. An estray is just a domestic animal, a horse, a cow, maybe a pig, that's wandered off from its home, and nobody knows who the owner is. And to keep things orderly and stop people from just claiming any animal they found, local laws required you to report it to the county court. And lucky for us, that process created an amazing paper trail. And these records are incredibly detailed. They weren't just jotting down, brown horse found. No way. They were describing these animals with the kind of precision you'd see in a modern police report. Think about it. These descriptions were the language of survival back then. Losing a cow could totally devastate a family's finances. And for us researchers, that precision is pure gold. So, how in the world do we turn a notice about a lost pig into a huge genealogical breakthrough? Well, the secret is learning how to decode the information that's hidden inside these simple little entries. They tell us so much more than just who found an animal. So, this is the crucial part. These records pack a serious punch. For one, they can prove your ancestor was living in a specific place right in between those tricky census years. They help you map out their entire social circle because neighbors are listed as witnesses. They can pinpoint exactly where they lived by describing local landmarks. They even trace family connections across generations with these things called livestock marks. And get this, sometimes they're the only records that survived a courthouse fire. Now, let's zoom in on the names you'll find in these records. When someone reported a stray animal, the court would appoint 2 neighbors to appraise its value. These weren't some random officials from town. They were the people living right there on the same creek, the same ridge. So by tracking the names of these appraisers, you are literally reconstructing your ancestors' social network, their friends, their in-laws, the people they saw every day and trusted. And here's another incredible clue. It's these things called livestock marks. Families had their own unique marks, like a specific notch cut into an animal's ear, that they would register with the county. These marks were passed down from father to son, almost like a family brand or even a surname. If you find the same mark being used by different people over many years, you've probably just found a direct family connection. A lot of our ancestors never actually owned land, which means they're invisible in the deed books. But an estray record might say that your ancestor found a stray mare at the head of Bear Branch. All of a sudden, you have a precise geographical location. It's a micro-location that might not even be on modern maps, but it tells you exactly where they called home. Okay, theory is great, but let's see how this all plays out in the real world. I want to show you a case study about an ancestor named Elijah from eastern Kentucky. It perfectly demonstrates the power of these overlooked records. So the family knew Elijah was in the county in 1830. And then, for 12 years, complete radio silence. No records, nothing. They figured he must have died or moved away. But then a single estray notice from 1834 popped up. It placed Elijah right at the head of Bear Branch. And here's the amazing part, the part that connects it all. The 2 men who appraised that stray mare, they were the very same men who served as bondsmen at his son's wedding 8 years later. That's not a coincidence. That was the missing link, proving Elijah was part of this exact community the whole time. Think about that. That one little slip of paper did everything. It proved Elijah was alive and well during that silent decade. It gave the family the exact location of their ancestral home for the very first time. And it confirmed his social circle, tying him directly to the neighbors who would continue to be part of his family's life for years. That is a massive, massive win from a single forgotten document. So right about now, you're probably thinking, this is fantastic, but how do I find these records for my family? Well, let's walk through the practical steps you can take to start digging for your own clues. It's actually a pretty straightforward process. First, you've got to know the county and the rough time frame where your ancestor went missing. Second, you dive into online archives. You're searching for terms like county court order book, or if you're really lucky, a dedicated Estray book. And third, when you find an entry, don't just look for your ancestor's name. Pay just as much attention to the date, the location, and every single other name on that page. Here are some of the best places to start looking, especially if your roots are in the Appalachian region, where these records are so rich. The state archives in Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, and North Carolina have fantastic digital collections. And of course, the Family Search Catalog is an absolutely essential and free resource for county records from all over the country. You know, I think this quote really captures the whole spirit of what we're doing here. Our ancestors weren't making these records for us. They were just living their lives. But in the process, they left behind all these unintentional clues, these faint little trails that, if we just know how to look, can lead us right to them. And that really is why these records are so special. They take us beyond just names and dates on a page. They actually let us see the world our ancestors inhabited, the animals that were so vital to their survival, the neighbors who made up their community, and the specific hollows and ridges they walked every single day of their lives. So the next time you hit that brick wall, don't give up. Instead, maybe start asking some new questions. What forgotten records did they create just by living their lives? What overlooked details did they leave behind? Those unexpected trails are out there, just waiting for you to find them.
Thanks for joining us today. Like, follow, and share for more Appalachian history, stories, and genealogy. Visit us on the blog at www.appalachiangenealogy.com.